Hey everybody, Tori here with another December Daily. Today I'm working on December 2nd, 2018 and 2019 because I'm doing two albums. So I'm going to start with my 2019 album. And on the 2nd of December, I decided to do some Christmas decorating to try to bring the Christmas magic to Africa. Because I was kind of feeling like it didn't feel like December, so I thought maybe decorating might help. So I'm going to document those photos. And then another thing I'm going to do is every year in my December daily, I like to include like a weather screenshot. And so I have a screenshot of the weather here in Kenya. And then usually what I do is I also take a screenshot of the weather app for the places where my siblings live and where my parents are. So last year that was 3 locations because I was with my parents. This year it's 4 locations. So you can see that I printed the 4 different weather results. And I kind of like being able to compare the different places that we live and see what the weather is like in the different places. So I'm going to include that too. By the way, if you're wondering how I created all of these epic photo collages, I ended up using the PicStitch app, and I love that app, PicStitch app, and just kind of collaging my photos, and then I printed them out with my Canon selfie. So the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to cut apart the weather screenshots. So I put 4 of them on a 4x6, and then I'm going to cut them apart and kind of put them into my album. So I have the weather from Toronto on December 2nd, from Leeds, which is where my brother lives, from Chad, which is where my sister and her husband live, and then from Kenya, which is where I live. So it's kind of fun to see like -2 Toronto, 7 degrees in Chad, 34 degrees in no, sorry, I lied. -2 in Toronto, 7 in Leeds, 34 in Chad, and 18 in Kenya. And by the way, that's Celsius, not Fahrenheit, so I'm not going to do the math for you. Anyways, I also pulled out some Project Life cards that I wanted to use that I thought would be a good addition to today's page. So to just start off, I wanted to do something on this pink page. So I was kind of looking through the different die cuts that I had that were Christmassy to see if something would work there. And I pulled out a couple that I thought might work, but I ended up going a different way in the end with that. I decided that I wanted to stamp the date, so I was kind of trying to figure out what I could stamp the date on, and originally I thought maybe I would use these tags, but today was one of those indecisive days. Like normally if you watch my scrapbook pages, you know that I kind of like make decisions quickly, but for some reason today I could not. So I ended up pulling out a Project Life card that had like a little blue line through it. And then I'm going to use my mega date stamp to stamp December 2nd, 2019. And then I ended up just cutting that down so that it was a little smaller because I didn't want the whole 3x4 card on there. I just wanted a little pop of that blue. And I was kind of picking up on the blue. You can't really see it in the camera, sorry about that, but I was kind of picking up on the blue of the star from the page on the left. And then I was going to see if there was some kind of stamping that I wanted to do, but I couldn't find any stamps that really worked. So I went to my sticker sheet and I found this like super cute little bird with a scarf on. I don't know. Something about like animals with scarves on that just makes them cute. And I stuck that down above the date. And then on this page, I'm going to put a little collage of some of my Christmas decorations. And one of the die cuts from the Snow and Cocoa collection was this like card that said like how to make a snowflake, which I thought was so cute because one of the Christmas decorations that I did this year was make like 100 snowflakes and stick them to my window. So one of the things I'm definitely going to miss this year being in Kenya is the snow of Canada. So I thought it would be kind of fun to make my own snowflakes and make it happen. So I decorated with snowflakes all over the window. I added some twinkle lights. I had brought some bottle brush trees and a couple of ornaments. And then I didn't have a Christmas tree. So instead, I collected a bunch of twigs from the garden and put them in a pot, and then I hung my Christmas ornaments off of that. It's like the epitome of an African Christmas tree if I ever saw one. So that's a picture of that. And if you want to see close-up pictures of any of these, I'm going to post them on my Instagram so you can kind of see what my African Christmas tree ended up looking like. And then I also grabbed this 3x4 card that said details. And I wanted to do some journaling on there, so I used my stamp to stamp the little things. And then I just added my journaling to this page. So I'll read you the journaling that I put for December 2nd. I decided to try and decorate today using the few embellishments I had brought with me. I'm thankful for Cassandra who lent me some extra decorations, and I'm thankful for special decorations I brought with me. I'm so thankful for James who collected branches and for the creative ideas. I started by making a ton of snowflakes out of paper and sticking them to the windows. I strung up some twinkle lights and set up some garlands on the banister. I set my bottle brush, trees, pottery, and gingerbread house, and of course the bunnies. Then I made up my own tree with branches. I hung the ornaments on the twigs and made it my own. And so I adhered that Project Life card on the piece of pink paper there. And then I'm going to work on the weather pages. So I had this one journaling card that said, today the weather is, and then there's a blank. And I knew that part of it was going to hang off of that little like flip out that I had made. So I decided to back it with some light pink floral paper that kind of matched that pink. Like I just felt like it would go well. And then I fussy cut that out just because I felt like I didn't want the back of the card to show, so I felt like this way there's like a pretty pattern, but it doesn't necessarily like take anything away from what I'm going to do here. So I decided that I wanted to stamp on there for what I was going to say. So I used this mini alphabet to put the word crazy. So I'm going to actually heat emboss the word crazy on that line there. So today the weather is crazy. And I thought that that kind of worked well because I'm showing 4 different places in the world and what the weather is like in those 4 different places. So I felt like putting the word the weather is crazy would go well with all 4 because in some places it's cold, in some places it's hot, in some places it's like nice and warm. So I feel really bad for my sister and her husband in Chad because that's where the hottest place is. But they're loving living there. And then I have nice like spring fall time weather here in Kenya. Although it has been raining a lot lately, but this week or this day it wasn't raining. So I just used my Versamark. Then I just used gold glitter embossing powder from Recollections. And then I'm just going to heat emboss that right onto that card. So it just says the weather is crazy. And I actually really love the way that that heat embossing worked out. Like it just adds this like really pretty like spot of glitter on the card. And I'm like loving it. So I think that's a good reminder for me that I need to do more heat embossing and actually more stamping too. I think so many of you know that I just moved to Kenya like a month and a half ago. And I wasn't able to bring all of my scrapbooking supplies, but I brought some things. And I feel like having less stuff is like helping me maybe use my stuff better. Like my stamps, I'm like, feeling like December daily and stamping is like where it's at this year. And I kind of like that I'm using them. And heat embossing too. Like I brought a few colors with me and it's like, how often do I pull that out when I have like stickers and embellishments and all of those things? And so when you don't have a lot, you got to use what you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up hearing that today the weather is crazy card on my little flip out, and then I'll adhere my weather screenshots on the inside of the flip out. Some of it got skipped over somehow, so I'm just going to slow this down so you guys can see. I added some enamel dots and phrase stickers to it. I also added that polar bear card with some journaling on the back that just says I miss my family all over the world, but I'm so proud of each and every one of them. And that's how day 2 in my 2019 album ended up looking, and I'm actually really happy with it. So now that we've gotten a chance to take a look at day 2 in my 2019 album, let's take a look at day 2 in my 2018 album. I had a bunch of photos for this day because I had spent some time with my dad and we had gone to dinner at one of my favorite restaurants downtown. And then we had gone to the Africa Inland Mission Christmas dessert night thing. So I have some photos of that. And then I also just have some random photos of my dog because I love him and I feel like he needs to make as many appearances in my December daily as possible. So I ended up trimming down my photos and then just placing them on the different pages. You know, one of the really fun things about doing my December daily in a junk journal is like the pages are there and then I have to like try to figure out how to make the photos and the journaling like work with what's there. It's such a unique creative challenge for me, if that makes sense. Like instead of like starting the page from scratch or figuring out like, okay, these are the photos that I have, so then like how do I want to make them happen? Instead, I'm like having pages and photos and being like, okay, here are the pages I have, here are the photos I have, how do I make this work? Like, I don't know, it's just kind of like a fun challenge. So I'm going to end up sticking a photo of my dad on the back of that acetate, the 3 photos of me walking the dog on the back of that little Project Life card flap. And then I ended up making a couple of journaling cards, which are just going to go in this pocket that I have. And I'll be able to add 4 photos to those journaling cards. And then I'll also be able to add some journaling. So these were just some photos I had from my stash. I believe they're both Ali Edwards. One of them says the story of this meal, and it has a plate, a knife, and a fork. And the other one says so much to love about you. And that was the card that I'm working on right now. So what ended up happening on day 2 was my dad and I decided to go to the dessert night. And so we went to, it was downtown Toronto. So we went to our favorite restaurant, which is Mimi's, which is like a Vietnamese restaurant. Oh, it's so good. And we went there. So I snagged some photos of our food and our tea and my dad. And that's kind of what I'm journaling about here. So while I'm adhering this, let me just read to you my journaling. Dad and I decided to go to the Africa Inland Mission dessert night together since Mom was away. It was actually really nice to go together, just the 2 of us. We spent the day together, which was so nice. Dad and I decided to grab dinner before going to the AIM dessert night, so we headed to Mimi's because 1, we were in the area, 2, we both love Vietnamese pho, and 3, it's very delicious. It was so much fun grabbing dinner together at the old favorite place, and we spent the whole time chatting. I just love my papa so much. He just gets me, and we're able to chat about the church, the future plans in Kenya, and more. Of course, we got our favorites at Mimi's. Dad got number 94, the usual, and I got a yummy tofu noodles dish. It was so good. And then on the photo of my dog, I just said, I just had to sneak these photos in of my cutie pie puppy, Bernie. Love this guy. And so I ended up just doing a little bit of stamping on one of those photos. Underneath the photo of the menu, where it says Mimi's Restaurant, I just stamped on the menu because that's where I was going to journal about like what we ordered. So I thought it would be cute to just add the stamping of on the menu there. And it has like a little like tag image too, if that makes sense. So it worked out really well. And then there's a photo of my dad that I'm going to include, and he kind of has a funny face on, which he always does when I take photos of him. So I grabbed this Brandy Kincaid and Feed Your Craft stamp that said, what a character. And I just stamped it on some leftover Project Life card, the one that I'd used in the other album, and just stamped what a character, and I'm going to add that to the photo of him. So just right underneath that, I'm just going to add what a character there. And I kind of love the way that that works out. And then it also gave me a little space to put the number 2 puffy sticker that I'm using. So if you haven't noticed, in this album, I'm using these puffy stickers for the numbers every day. And then I'm going to stick those Project Life cards like into that vellum pocket which I believe was from Felicity Jane from last year. And it was already adhered onto that green and white striped paper, so it was perfect. I could just slip those cards in and after I had added my journaling, and it worked out really well to just kind of tuck that in there. So yeah, and then I'm going to also add some journaling to where I had put the photo of the dog, and here's where I'm going to add the photos from the dessert night. So I did print out 3 photos, but after looking at it, I decided I only wanted to use 2, like the 2 rectangle ones, the 2 smaller ones. So I ended up cutting them out, backing them on some white paper, just because I felt like I wanted them to have a border all the way around. And then I will add some journaling here too, just talking about the dessert night. So Africa Inland Mission is the organization that I work with, so it kind of was fun to go to their dessert night. So one is just a photo of some cards on the table, and then another was a photo of my plate full of yummy desserts. And then I ended up using this card that says feeling joyful, and here's the reason why. Again, I think that's a Project Life card from Allie Edwards, but I can't be 100% sure. And I'm going to add my journaling there. And the journaling that I'm going to write is just, the Africa Inland Mission dessert night was so much fun. Not only were there yummy sweet treats, but it was inspiring. Imagine next year I'll be headed to Kenya. Sadly, midway through I started to feel really sick, so we had to leave early. Hope I'm not getting sick. Spoiler alert, I totally was getting sick. I felt so horrible. Like, I would have stuck it out unless I was like really, really sick. And I felt so sick I had to leave. Thankfully, my dad, who's an introvert like me, was like happy to leave. So we had our desserts and we listened to a little speech and then we left before the night was over. But we still had a good time. So I'm glad we went, even though I ended up feeling like so sick. I was coming down with a cold and I couldn't last the rest of the night. I was like gonna pass out. So thankfully, people understood. People in Canada get it when other people in Canada get sick, because we often get sick during cold weather season, as I'm sure lots of people do. Probably should have gotten my flu shot. Anyways, I didn't journal about that. So I just adhered those photos down, and I kind of adhered them both like, I don't know, what do you call them, like Willy Wonky? I don't know, like diagonally, kind of. And then I just grabbed a couple puffy stars from that sheet with the numbers and stuck those down there. And I also added a puffy sticker to the journaling card that said capturing the beauty of the season. And I added a sticker to where it said winter. So I skipped over the journaling part because I didn't think you would want to see that, but I'm just going to quickly show you the way the pages turned out. I'm really happy with the way that they look. I feel like it worked out well. And I kind of like how in these junk journals, like a day is like across a couple pages, and I'm kind of just like letting it be what it is. Like if I have a ton of journaling and a lot of photos, then I'm like letting it happen. I'm not being like, oh, this is one spread, because there's so many pages in here that like probably if I don't do that, I'll have like a quarter or half of the book that's empty. So I'm just letting it happen the way it happens. So that's pretty much it for this page. I did add that puffy sticker, and I think it's just a puffy sticker that says love, and it came from my stash for this spot. And then I also added a puffy sticker heart above the feeling joyful journaling card. I just felt like that page felt kind of blank. Other than that, the page is done. That's day 2 in December Daily for 2018 and 2019. I hope you guys liked it. I would love to know in the comments, what's your favorite kind of food? Is it Vietnamese pho? Is it something else? Let me know. Leave me a comment. I love reading your comments, and I try to respond to as many as I can. So talk to you soon. Bye.